there, and welcome back. Today we talk about the new firmware that the Torso T1 sequencer got. It definitely makes this little sequencer way more versatile, and basically the main thing is that it had a note per step. So if you used this before, and you see I did a demo last year, this at its core is an Euclidean sequencer, and initially you weren't allowed to set a note per step. So basically you would put in the pitch section different notes, and then the algorithm would put and would change notes, chords, whatever, following its own will. But now things changed and they made it in a very interesting way, so it works pretty well. While I think I actually really love to use the Torso with the computer using a DAW, and I'm having a lot of fun controlling VST with it, I decided for this demo to use the Syntakt because it's pretty seamless the way they integrate, super simple, and it will give you an idea of what's new. The only things we will miss, let's stop this, it's the polyphony, because this is no polyphony, so you can also sequence chord here, but you know, we cannot have it all in life, so bear with me and just enjoy. So before going on and explain what's happening here, as usual, the way you can support my page, you can buy from the affiliate link down below. I never managed to say affiliate link in a good way. Anyway, then you can become a subscriber of my Patreon, where you will find exclusive videos, content, a lot of stuff, or you can just subscribe to this page and share this content. By the way, I also have a lot of music on Spotify, Bandcamp, so I never mentioned that, but another great way to support me is just buy some of my album or just listen to my music. Okay, let's go back. I will give a very fast explanation of how Torso work. There's more video around, and there's one in-depth review that I already did. So if you want to know more, just go there. Basically what's happening now is like in the Torso, when you go into the pattern view, each of this button is a MIDI channel, and so I am actually mirroring the MIDI channel and the tracks on the Syntakt. So 1 through 12, and here 1 through 12. And this is pretty nice because this, once you plug in the MIDI cable and you set up the Syntakt, you have to do something here in MIDI config. In sync, you have to clock receive, and that's it. Because if you put transport receive, once you press play here, this will play too. So in this situation, we won't use the internal Syntakt sequencer. We want to bypass that. We can actually use both and create more complex things, but I just want to use the Syntakt as a sound module in this case. And again, you can use any other synth. This has a lot of stuff going on, so rather than putting 3 or 4 synth for simplicity, I just use this one. Okay, so let's start from a blank pattern and let's put things on, and I'll show you what basically changed. So on the Torso, you press bank to select different bank. You have 16 of them, and then in each bank you have 16 pattern. So like now I choose a dimly lit one. Let's get this one, and now I have an empty pattern. If I play, nothing happened. So as these come out, each of these button here, it's one track and map to the correspondent channel. So for example, this one, it's track 1, and if I press the channel button, it is mapped to 1 to 16, channel 1. This is channel 2, and all on until channel 16. Once you get it, it's pretty simple. So there's some things that I like to do when I start a new patch on the Torso, and usually you can work globally if you press the pattern button. If you press this, means that everything you change now, it will be applied to all the pattern, to all the track. So what I want to do, for example, is set up a scale that could help me to have all in quantize. So I press pattern, press scale, and here now I have all the different scale, chromatic, major, minor is written here. So let's put minor, because we always use minor. You can also choose the root. We'll stay, of course, in C minor. What a surprise. So if now I start adding pulses, these things will start playing. So an Euclidean sequencer means that it evenly distributes the pulses that you put in a track in a precise space. So to add pulses, I just rotate this guy. So the more I rotate, the more it will add pulses evenly spaced on 16 steps. So if I put 2, it's going to be number let's first select track 1. I was in track 16. So select track 1, had 2 pulses, and it will put it on in step 1 and 9. If I double press any of this button, it will stay in the page. So right now I have 1 pulse here, 1 pulse here. Let's play. And it triggered track 1, which is a kick in this case. I didn't do any sound design yet. So let's also select an empty pattern here. So we start from scratch and create something new, and we go along together. So here it is. If I keep adding pulses, it will, 3 now is evenly spaced like that. 4 is going to be 4 on the floor. And so this is how it used to work. And this is a very simple and fast way to create a rhythm, because here it is. I'm going to start populating all the other track, and you'll listen what I mean. So I go back on with bank, you go back. So now I'll add this. And now I can start decide. For example, I can decide that this, I rotate the pulse, so something like this. Let's add something here. Let's rotate. Let's make 15 step. Here we go in the tonal thing. So right now we put the 4 track, and you know, this it's very fun live because you can change things pretty fast. And then once you have this going on, there's a few things you can do. For example, I love using the temporary button with a pattern press on, means that now I can do change like a control all in the Syntakt. So for example, now temp, pattern, and I can mess up like adding a lot of pulses, or removing pulses, or remove steps. But when I will lift my fingers, it will go back to the track I just made. So that allows you to create a lot of interesting variation live. That said, this is how it works as a Euclidean sequencer. What they had now is the possibility to choose the note. And by the way, they had a lot of stuff, but also CC, we will see that. So let's set up some sound. Here, let's place on track 11. We choose my new favorite machine. And let's make some sound. So now we select track 11 here. So what you can do, we can double press here, so we are in the pulse view, and we can start adding pulses. So back in the day, what you would do to add a note, you would do like this. First, you would select a style. Control, voicing. voicing style, the first three here are for polyphonic, and this for monophonic. So you would put one of these, and then on pitch you would add a pitch. So automatically the torso would rotate and cycle through the pitch you put. So you didn't have a lot of control, right? I'm muting this other track. So that's kind of fun, but it didn't allow you to have a lot of control. What's happened now is that now you can go on the page here, double press the pulses, and now you can add single pulses if you want. This would happen before, but now we're pressing Control and one of the pulses, it will start blinking, this will gonna get red, and now you are in the per step pitch page. So right now I can select any of these trigs, add more if I want, or clear them. Let's add less than that, otherwise it's noisy, annoying. So let's again Control and let's add different pitch. I had some multiple pitch because I put it there. I remember I put 3. So what I like to do usually is just clear the page. Let's start over. So let's clear it. And let's now do it again. So let's add these 3. Let's play. And now let's add pitch. It lost the scale because I cleared the page. So let me put scale minor. And let's keep creating. All right. Let's add some kick. We can make the tempo a little faster. With the tempo here. Now we can add more tune to it. Let's select another track and 10. Let's make 10 another row. Let's change to triangle. Let's put higher pitch. And now in the pitch page, Control, we can control the pitch. Let's put less step. So as you see now, you can decide what happened. This is just the beginning. First, because there's one other concept that is pretty fun in torso, and it's all the randomization and the cycle. The cycling is what actually allows you to create variation. So let me talk a little about that. So let's just select the track we want to work. Let's just keep this one, mute everything up. So first, let's do some, we can do some randomization. For example, we can play with the velocity. First, let me select it. So this is maximum velocity, this is in the middle, so let's keep it here, and with random press, you can add randomization. And now there's gonna be more dynamic. It's something that you can do with the LFO there, but we just do with this. That's even too much, maybe, because let's make like this. So let's now go in cycles. When you start the machine, it has 4 cycles automatically. Cycles basically is the repetition of the pattern. In here we have 4 cycles. And if you don't touch anything, the cycle will be exactly the same. What you want to do now is just like select one by one and make variation. So once you press 1, you have this, pitch. I feel this velocity thing is too much. Let's remove it, otherwise we get confused. So again, we select the first one is stay as is. The second one we change. How we can change? We can, for example, change the voicing. Go lower, higher. We can change the range. Or we can change the pitch. With control, we change harmony. So now when I press again this button, it will cycle through these 4 different settings. Let's hear. And you can also change the amount of pitch, pulses, for example. Again, press, double press pulses. And here I can remove some of the pulses, then go back in cycle, choose another cycle. Back in cycle, choose another cycle, and remove something. And now let's listen the full composition. So very simply, you can create interesting variation, and then you can, if you want to block the progression on only one of these cycles, you can have 16 cycles, and each cycle has completely different setup. So that's pretty powerful. One thing that really impressed me of this machine is the fact that there's not any screen, but it's once you get the hold of it, it's pretty simple to understand. Let's get back some. Let's add some chord. I know that here there's track 6, so even in this case I can decide to use cycle to change the chord. So I go back in cycles, so I know that the first one has to be like that. I want to change this one. Now the only problem here, Let's actually make only 2 cycles. Let's hear. It works. There's no sound design made here, so everything sounds like a little. So while it initially seemed that Torso involved a lot of randomization, and that I think it's one of the strengths of this machine, right now you have the chance to create whatever you want. And I feel that they make it pretty brilliantly the way you can use this feature. So one other thing that I want to talk about, they had also the CC control, and that's pretty fun. So you can select any CC or change, but it come with CC mapped to the most common value. So right now I will not do that, and I just use whatever it's already set up here. So to go in the CC page, you press Control, and in the track page, you press, and this will become this cyan color. So mean that now you are on the CC page. All of these buttons right now are mapped to a CC. So I know that this one here, this one is mapped to resonance, and this is mapped to frequency. As you can see here, double press it. What happened? Here it is. So, what can you do with this? You can randomize, and that's fun. So, for example, pressing random. So how randomization works in T1 is pretty interesting. Whenever you turn on the machine, it creates a cycle of randomization, meaning that basically it repeats itself. It's a sort of control randomization, but with random here, you can decide, if you put it at the maximum, that the randomization change per cycle, or it stay always the same. So it's interesting because if you find a randomization, this sort of LFO, whatever you want to call it, that has been created that sounds really good, it will stay like that. You can lock it. So you have a lot of more possibility now to change the sound. You can randomize the resonance. And then all of these other things are mapped to things that I don't know right now, but you can change it. So if you know the CC value of your instrument, you can work with that. You can both go randomization. To clear what you did, randomization or whatever, you press clear button and push the encoder. So you can both do it randomization, or if you double press, you go in the sequencer page, and now you can actually sequence it. Oh, I choose the wrong one. It's this one. So again, here, for example, this I put the maximum, here I put the minimum. And so, like this, you can create even sequence with your what's the name, CC. Now, you might say, why it doesn't change every cycle? Because, remember, we create a different cycle for this sequence. So, and to see that, you need to exit the page. So you have 4 cycles, and you have to make that thing, the sequence for each cycle. Otherwise, it will save per cycle differently. Whew, I didn't express that concept very well, but you got what I mean, I hope. So basically, yeah, these are the main things that has been added. Plus, there's a new manual that will come out that is very well written, and it's easier to understand a lot of features. What is my favorite use for the T1? To kind of go on a sort of conclusion. Let's put the music. Let's filter. The favorite use is still the dialogue with the machine. As I mentioned before, this is a brain that somehow has its own will. Now it has a lot of more versatility, but it's one tool that I like to use, especially when I am not super inspired and when I want not to get some help, but you know, to sort be in a band, and this guy will help me. I find that it's really great with DAWs. Once you use it in Ableton with VST and you have a plethora of sound, it's great. Like, for example, you can map different instruments. Piano, it works amazing with piano, especially when you start to map and randomize the velocity, the sustain, pitch changes and whatever, and you can get extremely complicated results that I wouldn't be able to do with any other sequencer. Of course, the question that everybody keep asking me is like, which is better, this one or the Oxy? Because you guys know that the Oxy is my favorite other sequencer, and it's hard to say. I still think that this tool is something that comes after you have a bread and butter sequencer, because as long as you now can do a lot of more stuff and you have more control, other sequencer might be more less experimental, let's say, and more simple to use, but I have to say that this is one of those things that you turn on, you use it, and you feel refreshed, because you will go somewhere that you wouldn't ever go with a regular sequencer. Plus, I really enjoy the fact that it's super simple design and somehow super deep and very simple to understand. So I really recommend this as your second sequencer. For me, if I have the Oxy, for example, and this one, I can cover everything I want to do. Or, for example, I love to use this one with drum machine, because the rhythm you can create, very simple and fast. It's impossible to create with other sequencer. Of course, that's my experience. I love to use it with the machine drum, and now I really enjoy to use it with this VST that I just bought from Slate & Ash, Choreograph, and Auras and Cycles. I came out with very beautiful melodies. I don't even know how, but it's part, again, me and part what this machine can add. So if you want something in which the generative part dialogue with your human part, I think this is the best sequencer around. All right, I hope this was interesting and give you a new overview on what they added. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.